Hello, in this lecture we will define current portion of long-term debt. According to Fundamental Accounting Principles, Wild 22nd edition, the definition of current portion of long-term debt is portion of long-term debt due within 1 year or the operating cycle, whichever is longer, reported under current liabilities. So we are talking about the liabilities here, a type of a liability, that being a long-term debt like a note payable, bond payable. And the question is, how much of that debt do we report under the current portion versus the long-term portion? Because we know that liabilities are broken out between the current portion liabilities, those that are due within a year, and the long-term portion. We could have a loan that has some piece that is within both of those categories. We could have a loan that could be set up many different ways. We could have a loan where both the principal and the interest is due at the end of the loan. Or we can have a loan that's going to be set up where we pay the interest along the way and then we pay all the principal back at the end. Or we may have a loan that many people are familiar with, a type of loan in which we have monthly payments that include both the interest portion and a portion of principal. Let's take a look at an example. If we have a loan of $250,000, 4% interest, 30-year loan, and the payment then is going to be $1,194. So we're going to pay $1,194 for 30 years to pay off this loan. Now, if we're thinking about the current portion versus the long-term portion, that's what we need to break out. How much are we going to put up here in the liabilities section for the current portion versus down here for the long-term portion? We know the current portion definition means that we're going to pay it within a year. So we might think that we should just take this $1,194 times 12. That's what we're going to pay within the year. That should be current. Then the $250 minus that number should be long-term. However, that's not the case because this $1,194 includes interest and a reduction in principal. The interest has not yet been incurred. It's not a liability as of this point in time because it hasn't happened yet. It's like paying rent on the money, and the rent doesn't happen until the time period starts. So we just want to break out the principal portion of the $250,000 of these payments. So how are we going to do that? We could look at an amortization table for the first year. Might look something like this. We would have the total payments. So here's the total payments. That's what we're actually going to pay, but some of it is interest. Here's going to be the interest that we calculated. And you can see it's not going to be the same each year. That's why we would need the amortization table. And so this is the amount of interest we're paying. And therefore, this is the reduction in principal. So this is the principal portion that we're paying here. So of the total now, this is the total payment. This is the amount of that payment that is interest. Then this is the amount that is principal. And that means that the reduction at the end of the year, remember, we're up here at the $250,000. At the end of the year that hasn't yet happened, will be down here at the $245,597. Therefore, if we use this table to report our portion on the loan, we're going to be using these two numbers here. Remember, we're trying to report the entire $250,000. That's what we owe. But we're going to say that the current portion of it is the $4,403, and therefore the long-term portion is the $245,597. So that's what we're going to put in the current portion. Long-term portion here, we've got the $4,403, the $245,597. That's going to add up to the total that is due of the $250,000.